Can you imagine lying in bed at night, thinking you've just enjoyed a light, healthy snack, only to be unknowingly setting your body up for the perfect storm? Every year, thousands of Americans over 60 suffer strokes in their sleep. And for many, the trigger starts in the kitchen just a couple of hours before bedtime. The part that shocks me most is that these snacks often wear a shiny, healthy label, making us feel safe while quietly straining our blood vessels. You might recognize some of them from your own pantry. Tonight, we're going to peel back that label and uncover which so-called healthy treats could be pushing your blood pressure higher, thickening your blood, or speeding up your heartbeat when your body should be resting. I'm not here to scare you, but to help you stay one step ahead so you can enjoy your evenings without giving your heart and brain extra stress. If you've ever reached for a snack before bed thinking, "It's fine, it's healthy," I want you to watch this until the very last second, because by the end, you'll know exactly which choices could be quietly working against you. And hey, if you're curious already, drop me a simple 1 in the comments if you usually snack before bed, or a 0 if you don't. And make sure you're subscribed to Health 365 so we can keep walking this wellness journey together. Now, let's start with the first surprising snack on the list. One that might look wholesome, but hides a salty, sugary twist. On the surface, they seem like the perfect bedtime snack. A little bit of nuts for healthy fats, some dried fruit for natural sweetness, maybe a sprinkle of seeds. But here's the catch. Most store-bought trail mixes are far from the clean, wholesome blend we imagine. Many brands roast the nuts in heavily salted oils, and that salt isn't just a light sprinkle. A single serving, which is often much smaller than what people actually eat, can contain 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium, and sometimes more. If you pour a bowl instead of measuring, you could easily triple that without realizing it. Then there's the dried fruit. Instead of just removing the water, manufacturers often coat it in added sugar, or even dip it in corn syrup to make it chewier and shinier. That means your natural snack is suddenly loaded with refined sugar on top of all that salt. Why does this matter before bed? Because sodium raises your blood pressure, forcing your heart to pump harder at a time when your body should be slowing down. Too much sugar, meanwhile, spikes your blood glucose, which thickens the blood and can increase the risk of clot formation. A 2020 study from the American Heart Association found that people with high evening sodium intake had significantly higher nighttime blood pressure, and that sustained elevation is linked to a greater chance of stroke during sleep. I remember chatting with a gentleman from Florida, 68 years old, who proudly told me he had swapped his nightly potato chips for trail mix, thinking it was a heart-healthy choice. Within a month, he noticed his ankles swelling by bedtime, a sign of fluid retention caused by too much sodium. He was shocked to learn his healthy snack had more salt than the chips he'd given up. If you love trail mix, here's what you can do. Make your own at home. Use unsalted nuts, skip the added sugar, and toss in a few unsweetened dried cranberries or cherries. This way, you still get the crunch and chew, but without pushing your blood vessels into overdrive while you sleep. Speaking of crunch, let's move on to a snack that often pops up in healthy lists, but carries a hidden danger in every fluffy bite. Popcorn, the kind you see proudly labeled as light, air-popped, or made with heart-healthy oils. Sounds harmless, right? After all, popcorn is just corn, a whole grain, and if you skip the heavy butter, how bad could it be? Well, here's where things get tricky. Many so-called healthy popcorns still pack a hidden punch of sodium and, in some cases, unhealthy fats. The savory versions, even those claiming to be lightly salted, can contain 150 to 200 milligrams of sodium per cup. That's enough salt to keep your blood pressure humming along at high speed well into the night. But salt isn't the only issue. A lot of packaged, butter-flavored popcorns use partially hydrogenated oils or other processed fats to achieve that melt-in-your-mouth texture. According to research from Harvard's School of Public Health, even low levels of trans fat consumption are linked to higher risks of cardiovascular disease. Eating them before bed means your body is digesting and circulating these harmful fats overnight, a time when blood flow naturally slows, increasing the chance for fatty deposits to build up. I remember a woman from Ohio telling me she switched from chips to microwave popcorn as her guilt-free bedtime snack. She was shocked when her doctor pointed out that her blood pressure had actually crept up over a few months, despite no other changes in her diet. The culprit? Her nightly bowl of healthy popcorn, loaded with salt she didn't even taste anymore. If you really enjoy popcorn at night, the best choice is to air pop it at home and season it yourself. Try a light sprinkle of herbs like rosemary or a dash of smoked paprika instead of salt. You'll still get that satisfying crunch without sending your blood vessels into a late-night workout. And speaking of crunchy, salty snacks, the next one might surprise you. It starts with something truly wholesome, but gets a high-sodium twist that turns it into a midnight blood pressure trap. Whole wheat crackers with cheese. Now that sounds like a snack your doctor might actually approve of. Whole grains are good for the heart. Cheese has protein and calcium. So what's the problem? Whole wheat crackers on their own can be fairly healthy, but many store-bought versions already carry 100 to 150 milligrams of sodium per serving. That might seem small, but remember, serving sizes are tiny, often just 3 or 4 crackers. Most people grab a generous handful, which can easily triple the sodium intake before you've even added the cheese. Now, cheese is delicious. No argument there. But it's also one of the highest sodium foods in the American diet. A single slice of cheddar can have 175 milligrams of sodium, and some processed cheeses go even higher. Paired with salty crackers, it can top half your daily limit, pulling water into blood and raising pressure when your heart should rest. A 2019 study published in Hypertension found that high sodium intake in the evening was linked to reduced nocturnal dipping, the natural drop in blood pressure during sleep. Without this dip, the heart and blood vessels don't get their nightly rest, which can lead to long-term damage and increase the risk of stroke. I spoke to a retired teacher from Arizona who loved winding down with crackers and cheese before bed. She thought it was a step up from cookies or chips, but after her doctor advised her to check labels, she realized her light snack contained over 700 milligrams of sodium. She switched to unsalted whole grain crackers and paired them with fresh tomato slices instead of cheese, and within weeks, her evening blood pressure readings improved. If you want to keep this snack in your routine, you can. Just choose truly low-sodium crackers, skip processed cheeses, and try pairing them with avocado or cucumber for that creamy texture without the salt overload. And while we're on the topic of healthy swaps that turn into sneaky troublemakers, the next one comes in a bottle and feels refreshing, but it might have your heart racing when you should be dreaming. Kombucha and so-called natural energy drinks have exploded in popularity over the past few years, especially among people trying to avoid soda. Kombucha, with its trendy probiotic reputation, and natural energy drinks, with promises of plant-based boosts, seem harmless enough. But here's where things get risky. Both often contain caffeine and sugar, a combination that can quietly disrupt your heart and blood vessels at night. Caffeine is a stimulant, and even if you don't feel wired after drinking it, it can raise your heart rate and blood pressure for hours. Studies from the Mayo Clinic show that caffeine's half-life is around 5 to 6 hours, meaning if you drink it in the evening, a significant amount is still in your system by bedtime. For someone over 60, caffeine sensitivity tends to increase, so its effects can be stronger and last longer. Then there's the sugar. While some kombuchas and natural energy drinks advertise lower sugar, many contain 8 to 12 grams per serving, and bottles often have 2 servings. Sugar causes a quick spike in blood glucose, which can thicken the blood and make circulation less smooth. Combined with caffeine, this can lead to irregular heart rhythms and higher nighttime blood pressure, both of which increase stroke risk. I remember chatting with a gentleman in California who loved drinking kombucha while watching his evening TV shows. He thought it was good for digestion, but he also noticed it made him feel slightly restless at night. When he started checking his smartwatch, he saw his resting heart rate was 10 to 15 beats higher on nights he drank kombucha compared to water or herbal tea. If you enjoy kombucha, try having it earlier in the day, say with lunch, so the caffeine and sugar have time to clear from your system before bedtime. As for natural energy drinks, they're best avoided in the evening altogether. If you want a bedtime beverage, stick to caffeine-free herbal teas like chamomile or rooibos, which can help your body wind down instead of gearing up. And from here, we move to another snack that starts out with a genuinely healthy base, creamy nut butters, but gets a sugar-laden twist that makes it far less friendly to your nighttime heart health. Nut butters like almond butter or peanut butter have a well-earned reputation for being nutrient-dense. They're packed with healthy fats, protein, and even a bit of fiber, all things that can help keep you feeling satisfied. But the trouble starts when they get paired with sweet add-ons like honey or fruit preserves, especially before bedtime. Even a tablespoon of honey contains around 17 grams of sugar, and many jams or preserves pack 10 to 12 grams per tablespoon. When you spread a thick layer of nut butter on toast and then drizzle honey or smear on jam, you've turned your healthy fat and protein snack into a high-sugar, high-calorie dessert. The nut butter slows digestion slightly, but the sugar still causes a sharp spike in blood glucose. That spike, in turn, makes your body release a surge of insulin, which can cause your blood sugar to drop again a few hours later, sometimes while you're asleep. This roller coaster effect can trigger stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which raise blood pressure and heart rate, disrupting your deep sleep cycles. A 2018 study in Circulation found that high evening sugar intake was associated with increased nighttime blood pressure and reduced heart rate variability, both markers of higher cardiovascular stress. For older adults, these changes can increase the likelihood of a clot forming in the brain's small vessels during the night. I spoke with a retired nurse from Michigan who loved a slice of whole grain bread with peanut butter and honey before bed. She thought it was better than cookies or cake, but after she began checking her blood sugar with a home monitor, she noticed it spiked 40 points higher on nights she had that snack. Switching to nut butter with fresh sliced berries gave her the sweetness she craved without the rapid sugar surge, and she reported sleeping more soundly. If you adore nut butter at night, keep it simple. Choose unsweetened versions, watch your portion size, and pair it with naturally low-sugar toppings like apple slices or cucumber rounds. And speaking of snacks disguised as health boosters, the next one comes in a tidy little bar, but hides more sugar than you might guess. Granola bars and protein bars are everywhere, in lunchboxes, gym bags, and desk drawers, and they wear all the right labels. Energy, natural, made with whole grains, packed with protein. They feel like a smart choice, especially when compared to a candy bar. But here's the truth. Many of them are candy bars, just dressed up with oats and protein powder. A single bar can have 10 to 20 grams of sugar, often from syrups like brown rice syrup or high fructose corn syrup, which hit your bloodstream as fast as white sugar. That sugar rush doesn't just give you quick energy. It thickens your blood and raises your heart rate, forcing your heart to pump harder. Then comes the crash. When your blood sugar drops, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to bring it back up. Those hormones can keep your heart rate elevated and your blood pressure unstable through the night, making restful sleep harder to achieve. And sugar isn't the only problem. Many bars are held together with palm oil, soybean oil, or even partially hydrogenated oils to keep them soft and shelf-stable. These fats can increase inflammation in your blood vessels and reduce their flexibility. When this happens at night, when blood flow is naturally slower, the risk of plaque or clot formation goes up. A 2021 study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that eating high-sugar, high-fat snacks late in the day was linked to higher rates of nocturnal hypertension, a hidden risk factor for stroke. I remember a man from Texas who thought swapping his nightly cookies for a high-protein bar was a healthy upgrade. But after a few months, his blood pressure readings crept upward, and his heart rate variability at night dropped. When he switched to plain Greek yogurt with a few fresh blueberries, his numbers improved, and he felt less sluggish in the mornings. If you enjoy these bars, check the label carefully. Aim for less than 5 grams of sugar and avoid any with hydrogenated oils. Better yet, keep them as a daytime snack when your body is moving, not right before bed when your circulation slows. And that brings us to the final healthy snack, a small dark treat with a surprisingly powerful kick. Dark chocolate has long been praised for its antioxidants, flavonoids, and potential heart health benefits. A square or two a day can be good for you, in moderation and earlier in the day. But as a nighttime snack, especially for those over 60, it can quietly cause problems. One of the biggest culprits is caffeine. While dark chocolate has less than coffee, a single ounce still packs around 20–30 milligrams, and the darker it is, the more caffeine it contains. Add in theobromine, another cocoa stimulant, and you've got a combination that can keep your heart rate elevated and make it harder to fully relax. This can prevent your blood pressure from naturally dipping at night, a process that protects your cardiovascular system during sleep. Sugar is another concern. Many dark chocolates under 80% cacao still have 8 to 12 grams of sugar per serving. That sugar can trigger the same spike and crash effect as other sweets, putting extra stress on blood vessels. A 2019 nutrient study found that higher evening sugar intake was linked to poorer sleep quality and increased nighttime blood pressure in older adults. I once spoke with a woman in Oregon who enjoyed 2 squares of 70% dark chocolate every night with her herbal tea. She thought it was harmless, but noticed she was waking up more often. After tracking her sleep with a fitness watch, she saw her heart rate stayed higher on nights she ate chocolate. When she moved her treat to the afternoon, her sleep improved, and her morning blood pressure was lower. If you love dark chocolate, you don't have to give it up. Just enjoy it earlier, ideally before mid-afternoon, and choose varieties with at least 85% cacao to minimize sugar. That way, you can keep the benefits without sending your heart and blood pressure into overdrive while you sleep. Now that we've unwrapped all 7 of these healthy snacks with a hidden nighttime risk, it's time to pull everything together with a warm, encouraging message you can take to heart. So, there you have it. 7 snacks that might look perfectly healthy on the outside, but can quietly strain your heart, thicken your blood, and stress your blood vessels at the very time your body should be resting and repairing. These innocent evening treats can raise blood pressure, disrupt circulation, and even interfere with your deep sleep, setting the stage for long-term damage without you realizing it. The good news? You don't have to give up snacking altogether. With a few smart swaps, like fresh berries instead of dried fruit, lightly salted nuts instead of heavily processed trail mix, or herbal tea instead of sugary drinks, plus better timing, you can still enjoy flavor and comfort without putting your health at risk. Think of every healthy choice as a small gift to your future self, One more step toward protecting your brain, your heart, and your independence for years to come. If this video gave you a fresh perspective on your evening routine, share it with a friend. Drop a 1 in the comments and subscribe to Health 365. Your best nights and healthiest mornings are still ahead of you.